For those of you just tuning in, the lowrider is the technical term for the hunter's car. And the motion sensor will henceforth be known as the puppet horn.
Sweet Strats! Sweet Strats! Are you gaming with me? Sweet Strats! Sweet Strats! Are you gaming with me? Are you gaming with me?
Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Sweet Strats. I'm Harley.
I'm Zach.
I'm Matt.
I'm Jeremy.
We're back with episode 3, Specter Ops.
Little Puppet Rising.
Oh, Little Puppet.
The Ballad of Little Puppet.
Well, I guess we better talk about Little Puppet since you're going to hear a lot about the lowrider and Little Puppet horn. When we first played the game, our first game actually, there's a character, a hunter character named the Puppet. Well, Zachary gave it the term Little Puppet.
That's my cholo name.
Yeah, that's his cholo name. And then he rolled around. Then we called the hunter car the lowrider since the Little Puppet could use the motion sensor. We started calling that the puppet horn. So you're gonna hear the motion sensor be referred to as the puppet horn, the car as the lowrider, and the Little Puppet
as the Little Puppet.
Possibly Zach as Sergeant Little Puppet.
Yeah. Well, if you guys listened to the last episode, we ended up going to Board Game Bash right after. It was a convention in Austin. Kind of want to talk a little bit about that. I don't think any of us had a real great time.
It wasn't a bad time.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad time, but as far as convention, I don't know. I think we need to negate that a little bit by staying in the hotel.
Yeah, driving across town back and forth kind of cut out quite a few hours of gaming.
Yeah, getting up in the morning, getting ready, grabbing lunch, and then heading out. I mean, we're not getting there until 1, 2 o'clock, and then that's halfway into somebody else's day if you got to stay in the room. And
oh, yeah.
Instead of waking up, having some coffee, and then get straight into gaming. So, yeah, if I had it to do again, or if I'm doing it next year, I definitely want to make the leap and stay right there at the hotel. Hell yeah.
But my biggest complaint about the convention was they needed more side rooms to game in.
Yeah,
like just that one giant area of open gaming was just too loud. Like we were playing party games like Panic on Wall Street. We were screaming at each other, and we were one of the quietest tables there.
Yeah.
And we could barely hear each other
I don't
talk.
think they expected that kind of turnout, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty packed just Friday night, and then Saturday in the middle of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And especially when they have events going on that nobody's apparently aware of, and you could lose your table just like that.
Yeah, I didn't care too much for that. Yeah. Losing our table to a werewolf game.
Yeah, as soon as we walked in, started getting set up, we need this table in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Finish up your games.
Getting kicked out by the furry was really a downside. That was a low point of the convention for me. That was worse than having to rush to the bathroom and quark.
Yeah. So overall, stay in that hotel. Get prepared to get kicked out by a furry.
And go to Kirby Lane.
Yeah.
Sweet Strat.
Yeah.
See, Zach, I told you that's the place.
Yeah. Outside of Austin, you can always have good food, regardless of crappy convention experience.
Oh, and let me tell you this. If you go to Korea House, you will get no service. And then they will charge your friends.
No tip?
Bring in the calculator. Forcing the tip on these other guys.
Okay, well, enough with that. I guess something a little later we'll talk about convention-wise, but it wasn't about the conventions. The guy that we met, but we'll get to that later. I was reading on board game where, of course, I go look up everybody else's strategies and get some other ideas of what people were thinking about when we play these games. And this one guy, there was only one guy that even wrote any kind of strategy on the forum, and he seemed to think that the game was more skewed towards the hunters, and he said that this is what he says. He says he played the game a couple of times, both as the agent and the hunters, in a 2 and 5 player game. So I'm guessing he played in a 2-player game and played as either 2 hunters or the agent. But obviously in the 5-player game, he played with a trader. We didn't play with a trader. We only played 4-player. And in no game did he feel that the hunters had a good shot at winning. That's exactly what I went back and read.
You
Well, maybe I wrote that wrong. Because that first part of okay, I wrote that wrong. But this was the actual quote that I took off of Board Game Geek. He said, most frequently the agent escaped with 1 HP missing. But he did say, however, in his 5-player game, they screwed up and they played with the agent having 2 extra hit points, which was wrong. That guy's name is Charlie Roseless? I fucking know. Sorry, bro, if you're listening. I'm sure you're not, but if you are, I just butchered your last name. I mean, the Hunters the agent didn't escape once for us.
No.
Came pretty damn
A
close.
few turns away. I mean, I thought I had it. I really did.
I did too.
And
I did.
The sergeant's little puppet came rolling in.
Yes, little puppet.
Fucking getting door checked. Landed right on the one spot I got, and it was downhill from there.
Yeah. Yeah. And Zachary got real close.
Yeah, I thought the puppet was useless up until that clutch moment in that first game.
Mm-hmm.
When all of a sudden the car is 20 spaces from where it was, and it's literally right on top of me.
Yeah.
Played a pretty big role in that one, too, because we were able to cut off Zach at that last moment to prevent him from getting across that last 3D need to.
Yeah, it's good to get to those cross lanes on the road whenever you think you've got them narrowed down to a section, you think you know the direction they're going in, then getting that car over there and cutting them off is definitely not to be overlooked.
No, it's not. Well, let's go ahead and tell you guys about the game rules. So you have at least some idea of what we're talking about and how it actually flows. This week we played Specter Ops by Emerson Matsauchi, published by Nascent Games and Plaid Hat Games. This is a one versus all hidden movement game. I also highly recommend that you go to the Plaid Hat Games website and download the FAQ to supplement the rules. It helps out greatly. Specter Ops also plays 2 to 5, and the setup is fairly simple. However, there are different setups depending on the number of players, and in our case we played 4 every time, so that's going to be the setup described. First, the agent takes all token, equipment cards, minis, agent cards that are associated with the agent. The agent player also takes a pad that has the board layout on it to track his movement, turns, equipment used, and also to mark his objective spots. The agent player will start with 2 extra hit points in a 4-player game. Also in the 4-player game, the agent starts with 5 equipment of his choice. The only restriction is that he cannot take the equipment of another agent. Also, the agent will take a dice and roll 4 times to mark the spots on his pad where his mission objectives will be. Second, the hunters decide who wants to be which hunter. Then they take the appropriate character card and place their mini on the vehicle card. The hunters don't receive equipment as they all have special abilities. Last items to take care of for setup is we place a 4th exit token at H1 and the car token gets placed at K23. So the setup's now complete and our turns can begin. A turn happens in the sequence of the agent acts first, then the hunters can act. On the agent's turn, he may move up to 4 spots on the board. At the beginning or the end of his turn, he can use a piece of his equipment. If the agent is next to an objective at the start of his turn, he may then complete that objective and then move and use his equipment if he chooses to do so. After that completes an agent's turn, so before the hunters actually take their individual turn, they decide the order of the players, and this can happen every round. Nothing is set in stone for the turn order of the hunters. On a hunter's turn, they can move up to 4 spaces or use their special abilities if they're applicable. All the special abilities are described on the character's card, and if they're in the car, they may move it up to 10 spaces or use the motion detector. It is important to note that the motion detector in the vehicle cannot move at the same during the same round. You can't use both of those actions at the same time during one round. Entering or exiting the car ends the hunter's movement. However, while in the car, a hunter may use his special abilities that do not cause damage, and upon exiting the car, a hunter may still attack. Play continues in this manner, agent and then hunter, until either the agent completes 3 objectives and escapes through an exit, the hunters kill the agent, or the hunters do not allow the agent to escape in 40 rounds. Before we talk strategies, I need to touch on line of sight. A hunter can see orthogonally adjacent to his position. There is no range on the sight. However, a hunter cannot see through structures, and a hunter can never see diagonally. While on the road, a hunter can see down all spaces that comprise the road. If the agent ever crosses the line of sight of a hunter, a lasting token must be placed. If the agent is next to the hunter during the hunter's or agent's turn, the agent is revealed and open to attack. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk strategy.
So we're going to start talking with agent strats. So when you're the agent, you have the pad where you can do your secret movements. You're going to pick one of 4 agents. So you have the orangutan,
The beast.
the beast. No, we're talking about the agent.
Oh, shit.
You got orangutan, you've got cobra, spider, and a blue jay.
Okay, and so each of them are going to have their own abilities. They also have character-specific equipment they can take, and then there's a pool of equipment you can take. In a 4-player game, you're going to be taking 5 equipment cards, and you can take doubles, because there are some doubles in there. So you're going to be building basically a loadout for each of your characters. For each agent, they're going to have different abilities. So Orangutan has...
Orangutan has toughness. He has 2 more HP than anybody else.
Okay. Cobra
is an overpowered bastard. Cobra has ambush, so whenever you end your turn on him directly, you instead become stunned. You don't actually get that free wound. And if you end orthogonally adjacent to him, he has a 50% chance of stunning you. If he rolls a 4 or higher, again you are stunned.
Then Blue Jay.
Blue Jay can complete mission objectives from up to 2 spaces away, which is not bad.
And Spider.
Spider has the -2 to evasion. Spider, bitch. If you're within 3 spaces of her.
Okay, so I guess let's start off talking about the actual picking your agent. So with the agents, I honestly think the 2 of them are better than the other 2. That'd be Cobra and Blue Jay for sure.
I'd probably call them the standouts.
Yeah,
also.
completely
After
agree.
playing against you as Cobra, I don't see how I overlooked it whenever I was choosing.
Well, I got a question. Did you wait to see what we chose for hunters before you chose your agent?
No, I figured that you guys would choose the Beast since he's
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something we picked up as we were kind of on our last playthrough. Is there's always one agent that pretty much counters one of the hunter roles.
Yeah.
Like Cobra pretty much counters the beast. I can't think of those right now, but Spider pretty much
She
really good
counters
against
the
the
gun.
gun. Yeah, Spider counters the gun. So you always have kind of one optimal matchup as an agent, and then generally the other ones are going to be fairly strong against you. But
So I'd say if the hunter team is picking the Beast, you should most likely pick Cobra. Orangutan may be a second choice on that, since he can soak a little bit more damage. But you're going to have the advantage with Cobra, because the Beast gets an extra attack on you if he lands on you. If you have Cobra, you're completely negating that.
And even if you don't get that stun whenever the hunter lands adjacent to you, you probably also picked up Velocity Blade for your character-specific equipment, and then you've got 2 chances to put a -3 on the hunter's dice roll, which can be pretty huge. Me, I went with Blue Jay. Just saw the up to 2 spaces away for objectives, and that includes diagonally. So you've got a pretty wide area in order to get to your objective. So it can keep the hunter team guessing as to your exact location. It makes it much harder for them to start tracking down your exact movements. Whereas the other agents, if they completed an objective on their turn, they were within that non-square location.
She really negates the profit too.
She also has that her special equipment.
The decoy.
Yeah, the decoy, when used right, can be pretty good, because you're choosing where you want your last scene token to be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's up to 4 spaces away from you. However, the one downside to that is it's a one-time use. So you really have to save it.
Yeah, you want to make it count.
It's got to count.
Whenever I used it, I blew it. Probably because we didn't also completely know how it worked, because the way it's worded, it sounds like you'd still be seen even though you have your decoy out there, and that's not the case. If the decoy is out there, that's the only thing that the hunters are looking at.
Yeah.
You can even effectively sneak behind them as if, like the gun using the sniper ability, that's the only direction they have sight in. It works like that. You can sneak around the side of them if they're watching the decoy. But that's not how we played it.
Technically, according to the FAQ, you can run right in front of them.
Oh, well.
Because
That too.
the way the FAQ states is when running through the line of sight of a hunter and using the Blue Jay's hollow decoy, do I place 2 last seen tokens? And the answer was no. You only place 1. Using the hollow decoy gets the hunter's attention, allowing you to move past them as they are focusing on your decoy. So the way I'm reading that, it's any direction they're focusing on that decoy. I mean, that could be need a little bit more explanation, but
The FAQ for the FAQ.
Yeah. As far as how I read that, they're focused only on that if the decoy is in line of sight of the agent. So
now you also have the other equipment cards that you can pick whenever you're doing your loadout. You don't have to pick your character-specific cards. So there's 2...
But you can't pick anybody else's.
Yeah, you can't pick anyone else's that's specific. But these are all the ones that are generic. So you have 2 flashbangs, 2 smoke grenades, 2 adrenaline rushes,
2 stealth.
and 2 stealth fields. The adrenaline rush is going to give you 6 movement for a turn. The flashbang will blind anyone who's within line of sight for a turn, so you can go behind them or whatever you want to do. Smoke bomb is going to put up it obscures line of sight in every square around it until the end of your next turn. And can be thrown. Both the flashbang and smoke grenade can be thrown within 4 spaces.
So can the hollow.
Yeah.
Hollow decoy.
And then the last one, the stealth field, makes you basically invisible until the end of your next turn, as long as a hunter doesn't end within 2 spaces from you. So for my play, I did a complete stealth build with 2 smoke bombs. I was Cobra. I had 2 of the smoke grenades, 2 stealth builds, and then the velocity blade, his equipment. And really, the stealth builds are just come in clutch. When you got to get across the street, that is the only way to get across the street without being seen, for the most part.
Yeah.
Because the hunters will always be watching the street.
If they're doing it right, they're trying to cut streets off.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's exactly what I used. The one stealth field I picked up was across the street.
Yeah. Smoke grenades, I think, they can be used a lot more deceptively. In my playthrough, I didn't even think about throwing it and then running the other way. But that's a legit strategy.
Yeah.
To just throw it as a decoy and then go the other way or go somewhere else.
That's what Matt did.
You can definitely make it look like that's your potential path. That's where you're walking through. When in fact you're nowhere near it. You're going the other direction. But they seem pretty useful. Also because they last until the end of your next turn. Mm-hmm. So that's 2 possibilities to make use of that obscured line of sight.
Also for the hunters, if when you're moving, if you move more than 2 spaces and someone does the motion detection.
You mean agent?
Yeah, if you're an agent, you move more than 2 spaces and someone blows the puppet horn from the lowrider, you have to give your directions. You have to give your direction relative to the lowrider. So if you are northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, you have to give your direction. If you're in the same column or row as the lowrider, you give northeast, south, or west. So one thing that our hunters did almost every game is second round they blew the puppet horn. So by either moving your full turn on your first move and then going 2 on the next one, they're not going to know which way you went. But that's a good thing to know if you're the hunter. Maybe on your first turn you do want to blow it because they're going to go either left or right from N1. If you have the puppet, you could all you could all get out of the car, start setting out a net, and the puppet can move the car up there for you. Something like that. But I mean, that could be a super unorthodox strategy that will get you, help you know where someone's going. And I can't think of much else for the agent.
Well, I mean, agent-wise, I think your strategy of moving 2 for the first 14 rounds completely negated the puppet horn.
Yeah.
And that was rough.
I was just sitting there banging on the horn for 10 turns.
Because while I was the beast and I had the ability to go and sniff you out, that meant, 1, I could only move 3, and 2, that was a 9x9 grid that I was sniffing in. And that is a lot of space, even if you say you smell the agent.
But you could still be 9 spaces away. Well, not 9, but you could be 5 spaces away from the beat, 4 spaces away.
Yeah.
Right on the edge, and then next turn, you're out of there.
And there's no direction. It just means you're somewhere
close
in that 9x9 grid. Yeah. I think one time we sniffed you out and you were already behind us. Or you were already behind me.
Yeah, we thought we had him cornered in the map. Turns out he's already heading past us, well past us.
It was another clever use of static field.
Yeah.
Basically, I was posted up on a corner watching the street. They were over there sniffing up in a corner, and he used static field to just weave right around us without ever being spotted by me.
And we didn't realize it until a few turns later. He's completing an objective, and obviously he got past us because there he is.
Well, he also told us that at the very beginning when he initially got past me before I was up in the top left-hand side of the map sniffing around, that he was in that smoke screen, just hiding. And he was out of everybody's line of sight. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a super sweet strat, is to pop the smoke grenade in the middle of the street and then stay in the middle of the street. Another thing is, when you're playing the agent, is you just need to realize time is on your side. You only have 40 rounds, but that's a lot of game.
Yeah. Yeah, like that game you played, that game felt like it was lasted forever, and it felt like you were running out of time, but you still had 10 turns left. You had a lot of, basically anywhere on the board you could have gone with 10 turns left. So yeah, you can definitely play like you did, play the slow game, just feel it out for a while, and then you got plenty of time to adjust your strategies.
And then when he played with the Blue Jay, that 2 spots away, completing objectives, even when we were using the Prophet and he had to announce that he was about to complete an objective, it still gave him a lot of leeway. And in all honesty, we only got him out of sheer luck.
Yeah.
It was a clutch turn there at the end.
Yeah.
I thought I had it because I had a pretty good lead as far as making it towards the exit, because just the way I'd ended my turn where I was closer to the exit than the objective. Well, not closer to the exit, but I was already in that direction where I wasn't behind my objective. So I was already on the path out while I was completing the objective, but turns out you can catch up in the car pretty quick.
Yeah.
Especially when they got the puppet driving it around.
Also, if you are using the puppet, well,
I don't think there's, can you, what other builds can you guys think of other than stealth? I think the stealth worked great. I think 2 adrenaline rushes would blow you so far away from people, too.
It doesn't.
Yeah, so I took the kind of unorthodox strat, and I took orangutan, 2 adrenaline rushes, 2 grenades, and his racial that stuns. And I basically just went like the smash and grab strat, where I was going to take the most direct route to an option, try and outrun him everywhere I could, and just haul ass as quickly as I could. And that worked to an extent. If you're facing any kind of competent hunters, it's pretty easy to counter.
Yeah, we ran the Beast, that one. That was the second game where we had the Beast in on it, and I was playing the Beast. And once we were able to get to where we could figure out the possible spaces you would have been whenever you completed the objectives, we were able to plan out your possible moves. And we were able to start cutting you off. And
that was the game where the Beast +5 movement really showed its value.
I think I landed on you at least
like a lot
3 times.
Yeah, like there was a couple of rounds where I calculated just right to where I could outrun. No matter what, nobody could get to me if they could only move 4 spaces. There's a couple times I forgot the Beast was there, and he landed right on me a couple times.
Yeah.
So, like, without the Beast, that strategy works pretty well.
Yeah, your health, it lasted, but there towards the end, you kind of petered out. You ran out of equipment, and that 2 extra health didn't make the difference you needed.
Yeah, my object, and the gun actually hurts in that one as well, because he gets a lot of free hits on you during that. Because you're just, you're blindly going across streets, and you're going as fast as you possibly can.
Yeah, what's 1 sniper shot? Well,
basically the gun.
Those add up.
Yeah, the gun just stands there and gets free sniper shots on you running across.
It's also worth to note that the orangutan, he actually had 8 hit points in that game. He was the toughest of everybody.
Yeah, but he still got whittled down.
Yeah. I mean, it also hurts when the Beast lands on top of you, and that's 2 points every time.
Yeah, that game
potential.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever got that second hit off.
Really?
Not with his ability. I don't think I ever had poor rolls.
But yeah, that game, this definitely is a stealth game. You can't be very obvious or direct with your moves. You gotta have some kind of misdirection to win in this.
Yeah, I would agree there.
As long as you're playing with just, against just total dumbass hunters.
The one thing that we didn't do a lot of, or that I didn't see anybody really do a lot of, and even when I played, I didn't do a lot of it, was kind of like hanging back and trying to get the hunters to run over you. Because the hunters can move through you and never see you. They only see you when they stop.
Yeah.
Did you do that at all? Like stay in the same spot?
No, I was more trying to bait you guys on to land on me. To get the stun on you guys.
That makes sense.
Yeah, with Cobra you can pretty well dominate the close quarters. So you can always make it to where the hunter can never be 2 spaces away from you and get an attack. They either land on you or you get the 50% chance by being adjacent to them. So the Cobra, you can really work the corners and work the close quarters.
Yeah, whenever you don't have those, 3 and 4 open lane kind of areas in the corridors, then you're forcing them to step either directly on you or 1 away if they can start to narrow down your position. So yeah, he's definitely dangerous in close quarters.
Yeah, that's another reason why I think Cobra's the best, just because at some point in the game, the shit's going to hit the fan, and you're going to be scrambling away from the hunters. And I think he's the best guy to scramble away, especially with some equipment.
If you can get a couple stuns off on 2 out of 3 hunters, you can make a good dash for it.
Well, when I played, I was a spider, and she was really good. And from what I don't remember exactly everything I took. I know I had Tangle Line, and I had 2 adrenaline rushes. And that being the first game I'd ever played, or that we'd actually ever played, I remember I burned an adrenaline rush first to get initially as far away as I could. I mean, nobody really blew the motion sensor in that game that I can remember. Beast got me the most out of that because he could land on me and do 2 hits, and her evasion doesn't work for Beast's brutal strength. As far as like everybody else, it was very effective. That -2 was pretty good. You had to be close if you wanted to hit her. She could also use that Tangle Line. That was very good, especially if people were right up on you. When I played, I just burned my adrenaline rushes too early, and I couldn't get away quick enough without Beast jumping up on me and knocking out 2 hit points every time. I mean, effectively, he only really had to do that. I think he got me twice, and there went 4 hit points, and the rest of the time it was just unlucky on shots. But yeah, I could see taking taking the flashbangs, probably stealth field or smoke grenades. I mean, because effectively she could tangle shot on her second turn before she moves after she throws a smoke grenade. I know with some of those plays, there was one time I was hiding in the corner from Russell, and I watched him run past me, and then he come back out and got me, and I was in a corner. I cornered myself a lot in the games that I played as a spider. That's something else. Don't corner yourself. Stay still, but give yourself at least the option to move out.
Yeah, staying still is a viable move because most of the time the hunters aren't going to think that you're staying still.
Yeah, whenever you're thinking about the potential spots they're going to, you're not even really considering not moving.
Right.
You're looking at, well, if he's trying to book it, here's the spaces he could reach if he's going the full 4. And that's where you're going to try and head to start trying to get line of sight on those locations. Where if you're staying still, then you could just do that for 3 turns, let them wander off.
Yeah, I think every time we played hunters, the first thing we would do is calculate the furthest they could possibly get from their move, really. And sometimes they are, but like I said, going back to the thing where you can play the long game more, more often than not, it's not good to just book it in one direction.
Right.
Because you become a little too predictable. A lot of times you got time to just fiddle around and try and juke the hunters.
You know what? When you're playing it as the agent, it almost feels like you don't have that time.
I know.
It doesn't seem like it, but we didn't. The game that he was agent was probably the longest turn-wise that we played.
Yeah.
And it ended about 30 turns.
Yeah, 29.
Yeah, I think mine was in the mid-20s, if that.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, it still felt like I was pressured, like, I need to get across this map. And you really don't. You do have time to try and to really outmaneuver and hopefully outwit the hunters. But I wasn't playing it like that. I get my objectives and get the hell out because you have a limited time. But you've got some time to play with.
Yeah. So there it is. Take your time. Take Cobra. Especially if they're playing Beast. Oh, and something else. Make sure you're sitting away from everybody. And one other thing I'll say is that I actually ended up having to start looking down when you guys were playing because I could notice where you were writing on there, what quadrant you're in. So I had to start looking down like that. So because if I looked at you when you were writing on your pad, I could... Like there was one time when Zachary was going, I saw he was writing up in the top right-hand corner of the map. And I was like, go the opposite direction.
Well, what do you think about the team makeup for the hunter team?
Well,
you can only pick 3. I mean, who do you go with?
I mean, that depends.
Yeah, if you pick without knowing what the agent is,
That's always going to be it.
I don't know. I think the gun is definitely always a great option just for pure damage, really.
I was going to agree there. I think if you're going to put a team together, you should have a gun on there. Just because of the potential to close off the smaller lane.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not necessarily looking down the roads where the car can go, but just being able to get in the spot where you can look 3, 4, maybe 5 spaces down the sections and start to really block somebody in because they've got the quick draw, which if you're in the small spaces, they're going to have a chance to hit you. There's not very many 6 or greater lanes in
In the small
those
space.
map sections. Yeah, so you can position yourself right. You can definitely box somebody in, or they're going to have a chance to get shot.
Oh, here's something that everybody needs to know. If you roll a 1, it's an auto miss, even if you're standing next to the guy. So you always at least have to roll a 2 or greater to hit. And on a regular attack, a 6 is an exploding dice, which means that you can roll again and add it to the dice.
And you only ever do 1 damage, but
Yeah.
what you roll is effectively your distance
From the,
that you're hit. Yeah.
but
Yeah, I'd say the rest are all good in their own way, really. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had all of them make a pretty big difference.
Would have liked to have had the Prophet on his game.
Yeah, definitely.
Post cognition would have definitely come in handy. A few turns in, whenever the puppet horn just wasn't doing it for us.
Yeah, 'cause I would say there's ways to kind of play around everything but the gun, really. Like, you can negate the puppet by moving small movements. You can negate the Prophet by being large movements. And you can kind of, just can't really negate the beast very well, unless you're playing Cobra. But
well, here's the thing. Like, in that first game, we played really more of a defensive strategy. I mean, we had to based on our makeup. We played the gun, the Prophet, and the puppet. That's where Little Puppet came, Puppet Horn came, Lowrider came. We had to actually play the net. We had to drag net. So in the end, it was like we put Little Puppet on the corner to watch the corners. Meanwhile, he was driving somebody around in the car and using the puppet horn when he could, and effectively giving somebody line of sight, because that car can move 10. Even that's double what Beast can move, even when you use his special ability. So that was we threw out a dragnet, and that's how we got a majority of the hits on Germany, was throwing out that dragnet and then letting Matt use the gun to go in and chase him, or sniper shotting in a direction while we used precognition and the puppet horn to determine where he was.
yeah, I would almost say the puppet might be the second most valuable after playing through all that. Just especially in those situations, his versatility is pretty huge. Just being able to whip around the board with the car and being able to constantly use the horn is pretty big.
Yeah, that horn. I mean, even in the end, I mean, I know it didn't do anything for us in the first part of Zach's game, but in the last part of Zach's game, in the late game, it really did. It narrowed it down for us to see whether he was in a lane to where he could cross the street on his next move with 4 moves, or he was hiding back.
Mm-hmm.
That really helped us.
Yeah, I think with
they're
that,
not directly east, for
Yeah.
instance, then they have to be somewhere further back, and then you can start to calculate how far they could have gotten.
yeah, I think at that point, by narrowing down that he wasn't there, that narrowed it down to maybe a 3x4 square that he could have potentially been in, that he was guaranteed to be in.
Yeah, and weren't we able to get to those
those
cross lanes?
Yeah.
and
we
route
marked
right
down
away?
everything and found him.
It was really good. I almost want to say precog is real good early game. The fact that he gets a +2 to his die rolls, I guess effectively he nullifies the spider, because since she gets a -2.
Yeah.
But the other ability that he has, which is really good for team makeup, is the precognition, where the agent has to announce a round before when they're going to complete an objective. That's
passive.
That is passive, and that will help you so much. That was very effective when we were doing our net when he was completing objectives.
Yeah, it definitely helped to narrow down the area I would have been in.
It sure did.
But I also had a good agent to not really counter it, but at least make it a little less effective, because of the distance away she could be from her objectives. It's, again, you know the general area, but considering that you've got 6 different places that objective could be, minus the first one where you've got, the 3 and 3 split, but that's still a big area I could have been in, and it's pretty difficult to start to really narrow down the potential spots I could move to, because you don't know where I started from exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. But if we could at least the way we played that game, I don't think we really sent Matt in a whole lot till you were getting in on your 3rd, or maybe I went in, and Zachary and Matt. I don't remember exactly how that went, but all I know is we would corner the spots where we would throw our net out, where we thought that you might be, where we thought you were doing the objectives based on the precog or the postcog and the puppet horn, and that was really good. We just had to watch the corners and go in and just take a look. we couldn't overcommit because, we didn't know with your ability with 2 spots away, we didn't know if maybe you would just take off on us or backtrack on us, and then we were overcommitted in one spot. But I really thought that the precog and the puppet, if you're going to play a defensive strategy, they need to be together. I thought they worked really well, forming the net so somebody could come out. And just with Zachary controlling the car and what got you, I mean, I was in the car. Oh, and this is something also very, very important. You really need to plan out, since it's not set, which hunter is going to go first. You really need to talk through, as the hunters really need to talk through and form who's going to go when. Because...
And don't do it on the agent's turn.
Yeah.
Sweet strat.
Sweet strat number 1.
Don't discuss the hunter's plans before the agent takes their turn.
Yeah, I know that there's plenty of times when
The agent's just sitting there.
just listening.
That probably happened to some extent on every game.
Yeah,
Oh,
sure did.
man.
And you really couldn't have picked a worse strategy than talking about all your strategies like a James Bond villain.
Oh,
Yeah, I remember that happening once in my game. I was like, they made good points there. I'm not going to do that.
That would be what I would do. Let's do something else.
When you're playing Hunter, you just got to talk about something else when the agent is doing anything else.
Yeah, because you're already starting to formulate, all right, if they did this, then here's the things he couldn't do. This is probably what he's trying to do right now. I'm like, well, shit, not anymore. You're going to do everything but all the things you just listed. That's what's going to happen on this next turn.
oh. In the end, we finally got a
just
little
sit
bit better
still.
at it.
After you guys make all your assumptions, just sit still.
Just do nothing.
And there goes the hunter team just rambling off. Here's where he could have been. Come on, let's go, guys. So, in the corner.
I mean, like with like in the clutch move that we played in the first game, Zachary, I was in the car. I hadn't moved, so my turn was still up. Zachary moved the car with Little Puppet, and he put me right next to Jeremy. And when he did that, that gives me line of sight, even though it's not my turn yet. And I had the ability to step out of the car.
You stepped out on me.
Yeah.
And you moved about 20 spaces in effectively 2 turns. Because it happened at the end of a turn where you got in the car and he moved you.
Yeah.
Then I took my turn, ended up somewhere. He started his turn by moving the car again. Then all of a sudden, the one exit I was going towards, you could already figure it out from where I was the few last times I was seen. I think I stepped across the street and got sniper shot by Matt.
Mm-hmm.
And I whittled my health down. I was like, man, I've got 2 health. I can take this one and still make it kind of idea. And turns out I couldn't. Because in those 2 moves, man, the car swept around that corner. You got line of sight on the one lane I happened to be standing in. It was pretty lucky because you could have gone a little further. But
Yeah.
I don't think you stopped right in the one lane. And I had to, here I am, guys, right here.
Well, I mean that's good. I mean, if you're on a street, stop when you can look down a cubby hole.
Yeah, why not?
Don't keep going. Always stop. I mean, if you're in the car, for sure, because you have 10 moves the next turn. Always check the little side pockets and everything, because those are perfect spots to hide.
Yeah, that's exactly where an agent would want to end their turn in order to cross that street and try to duck into another alcove or something. Yeah, that one surprised me. I thought I had that one in the bag, and then shit.
Oh, I did too. that was Zach moving the lowrider in the right direction.
Yeah, and really, I mean, Puppet Horn was nice and all, but that was the clutch game. I was like, oh shit,
Yeah.
Puppet's not that bad after all. Turns out he can pull it off.
You just have to remember, if you want the puppet to move you in the car, you've got to get to the car first.
Yeah, because at end your turn, entering or exiting, you got to
Entering
plan
or
accordingly for that. So
Mhm.
you got to make sure that, if you're going to try to move that car, then get in it first and then get little puppeted across the map there.
I mean, you know what? Even in the third game, that helped us when Matt was a little puppet and you jumped in there, the gun, into the car. That ended your turn getting into the car, and then he just ferried you right over there.
Yeah, I was able to get into a good cross section to start covering some roads.
Yeah, but the thing was, even though you couldn't get out of the car on that turn,
Still had line
you
of
still
sight.
had line of sight. So
Down
we
2
would
roads.
Yeah,
So
we effectively saw whether he was coming or going.
You know what? I'm looking at the map right now. One thing that we did every game as the hunters is we all got out on this NO road, the first road that the agent starts on.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're starting at K23, so that's 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8. So, I mean, let someone get out at K15, up into K14, and start going in here into this is this red and green down here? Pretty sure it's the red and green section
Well,
where the first objectives are going to be.
the first objectives are in rows. Was M9 all the way to 8-9 to M9, 8-14, A14 to M14.
Yeah.
That's the quadrant to where the first 3 objectives are going to be.
So I would say maybe an agent needs to get out at K14, and then another one could hop out down here in 15. You got 2 crossroads right here. On the next turn, the other one goes up to these crossroads right here, and then you start using the why.
You can only move. You could do that in 2 turns.
That's what I'm saying, in 2 turns.
Oh, okay.
In 2
I thought you were
turns,
doing it like
now
one
you
turn.
have this road. The first 2 crossroads are covered. You have someone down here making sure someone doesn't sneak across the road, and maybe you put the beast in here, or if you have the puppet, you're blowing the puppet horn, trying to figure out which direction they're going. But I think it's since you started in 1, it's almost everyone starts going. It seems like you're wanting to go to objective 1 first.
It looks closer, so why not go to the closer one?
Yeah, but you still have someone down there at the crossroad, so you can start moving to 4 if you can detect they're moving over that way. Because when you're on the streets, you're burning people's items to get so when they're trying to get across the street. You have to keep the streets watched.
Another thing I thought about that we didn't ever utilize, but I thought about it after we played, is starting off the hunter turn by getting the car further up north. Because how far can the agent really get in the first 3 or 4 turns? When they say, northwest or northeast, that's a huge area considering the car is probably somewhere in the middle of the map still. But if you're a little bit further up to where you're a little more, you might be able to narrow down to southeast or southwest. You can tell if they've passed a certain threshold a little further up. But we never played it like that.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought about doing that on a few different turns, especially with the puppet. Trying to just move the car in some kind of weird spot that's better for us to try and find out where the hunter is or where the agent is. You might put the car out of commission for us for a bit, but just kind of using the car a little more aggressively for the sensor.
Yeah, well, when we were playing against you, Matt, I had the Prophet, and I was in the car for probably 5 rounds, driving it around, using the motion detector, and also just making sure, if you don't have the Puppet, you got to make sure the car is there for you guys when you need it. Because there's going to come a time when you got to get in that thing and you got to go.
Yeah,
especially if they slipped you.
You realize they slipped past you, they just completed an objective that's a good way away from where you are, 2 or 3 turns, and then now you have an idea where they're heading next. Yeah, you're going to need to get up there quick. You can't waste too many turns or they've got the jump on you.
Sitting here, I was looking at something because you brought up something interesting about since you started K23 and you were talking about coordinating it off by jumping out of the car. I mean, you can only move the car 10 spaces. Once it's moved 10 spaces, it can't move any further. However, you can effectively split it between 2 players. So I was sitting here looking, it's maybe somebody moves it up into L16 and gets out, and then the other 2, they move it up to O13 and somebody gets out. That effectively gives them line of sight on the
3 road.
Yeah. But it gives whoever jumped out at L16 the ability to run into that quadrant, that first objective quadrant, and maybe hold it off, or at least these 2 spots where he might be seen, and it'd force him to. I'm sitting here looking at this, and nobody else is being able to see it. But effectively, it could force them to take a long way around or not go that route at all, and somebody in the car could just keep on driving up to get a better line of sight. So effectively what I'm talking about is that by turn 2, the person could be at I-13, which, okay, I'm sorry, folks. You're going to have to go find a picture of the board or at least the pad to see what I'm talking about.
Or why are you even listening to this if you don't own this game? I don't understand.
I mean, but here's the thing. I mean, effectively, when we're going to talk strategy, one thing was if you wanted to talk strategy about a game that maybe you hadn't played, you just wanted a rough idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe this also gives you an idea whether you want to go out and play it. And now you don't. So,
rate and review on iTunes.
But yeah, I think by turn 3, you could be up in that first half quadrant between A9 to M9 and A14 to M14, and you could effectively cut the person off and force them to take a long way around.
Well, kind of. 'Cause really, unless someone's playing the gun, all you're going to get is a last scene token. But you don't really want the hunters to know where you're headed, that kind of thing. Right. Once there is a last scene, then it is starting to help narrow down your potential movements. But, yeah, getting spotted is not the end of the world or anything, but you definitely don't want to give away if you don't have to.
Well, I mean, you're going to have to realize that as the hunter is playing, you're going to lose those three. You're going to lose 3 objectives. You're going to hit them in between while they're going to them, but you're going to lose 3.
Yeah, we didn't have a game where nobody didn't complete the 3 objectives at the very least and was trying to make their way out.
I mean, you're either going to kill them when they're on their way out, you're going to get lucky and corner them, but I'd almost say you're going to lose at least 3 objectives, guaranteed. Do you guys think that?
Yeah, unless you get really lucky with blocking somebody off and they just don't use their equipment effectively, or they blew it earlier trying to do something else, maybe a distraction or something.
Just by the fact that the objectives are always randomized, you never, they're randomized and so spread out in that region that you can't really defend them at all. They're gonna get them, you're gonna know approximately where they are, then they're gonna go from there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy for the hunter to get the objective versus for the agent.
And that's why I was saying getting the last scene token, I think, is incredibly more valuable than trying to protect that mission spot.
Yeah, because from that last scene, you can really start to narrow down where they could have gone, because it's pretty specific where they were last seen. I mean, you can start to narrow down a diagonal if they went. Who else might have seen them if you're trying to sweep in with the net? And
obviously, if it's in the spot where objectives are, you know they're going for those specific objectives over there. So they either A, had to double back or take some sort of long way around.
Yeah, I think something that we got better as in every game is kind of playing the deduction game a better. I was, going through all their potential spots. If we're all kind of close, we can all hit, as many, in many cases, we hit every potential spot he was in. Yeah. Never in like Zach's case, we got him exactly pegged a couple times. I know in my game, y'all pegged me exactly a couple times. So it's pretty, if you actually take some time, cover the potential line of sights, cover their potential movements, your own character's moving to fill a couple of those spots. I mean,
we did it really well in the middle of the board whenever you had about 3 spots you could have been in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, I think it was 4, and we definitely had 3 covered. And Matt just takes his icon, his mini, and puts it out there. It's like, all right, that's where he is.
Oh, yeah.
It couldn't possibly be anywhere else. We rolled out all the other spots. Yeah. This is where he is. Even though we didn't see him, we knew exactly where it was and exactly where he could have been from there. Yeah, it definitely got down to, it was easy. It was not easy to do, but it was easier to start discussing those things and really start cutting off
we definitely improved
the paths and the options.
We definitely improved our chances, basically. We improved our percentage points on those plays.
Yeah, cutting off all those avenues of escape.
Yeah, that's a huge part of the hunter strategy, is planning accordingly where the agent could have possibly been and starting to get line of sight on as many of those spots as you can, as efficiently as you can, and hopefully narrow it down. Because if you've got it narrowed down to 4 and you see 3, then you can go ahead and just take Cobra and put him right there on that map because you know exactly where he's at.
There was the hunter compilation that we had in the second game where Zachary was the precog, you were the beast, and I was the gun. I thought that was exceptionally good for an offensive strategy of going in and flushing them out in those tight quarters. Because with the guns, I don't know why I call her her, but it's a dude. But with the gun's ability for the quick draw,
that was a girl too.
I could effectively watch corners where you thought that he was in the spaces where I wouldn't really be useful, and you were able to run in there and try to flush him out.
Yeah, because like Matt admitted himself, he thought about all the places that we could reach.
Yeah,
thinking of 4 moves, forgetting that the beast can do 5, and turns out he wasn't out of range, and we did land on him a couple times. And again, helping to narrow down his potential movements was a post-cog.
Yes.
Post-cognition. If you can figure out exactly where they were 2 turns ago, then you can start to narrow down where they are 2 turns from then, where they could have been. I mean, it's kind of hard. It's a little bit harder to narrow down because if they got 2 movements. That really does open up your options as far as which direction they're heading. But you can also start to guess, well, if they just did this objective, where's the next one? Which section of the map are they going to be heading?
In that game, the precognition helped us extremely too, especially when we knew like the particular section of where he was, and maybe there was only two objectives in that particular section. So we knew that he could only reach one or the other.
Yeah, and then
we rushed him. I mean, that's how we got him in the end.
Yeah, so you don't know exactly which ones are the objectives, but it's pretty easy to tell. It's the single blocks on the map. Like, we weren't looking at a map that'd be pretty cheap. But, yeah, you can tell just by looking at, okay, if it's a single block, that could potentially be the objective. If he can only reach these two, and he's telling us he's going to complete one, he's got to be within this certain range. But, the Prophet definitely has some really good abilities that are overlooked. And we didn't even use them to attack.
No.
We didn't get a +2 to dice movement 1, but still, just the precog and postcog really did help to narrow it down where he was.
Yeah, I don't think you got to attack the entire time.
I think I may have got one or two, but they rolled so crappily.
Oh.
That happens.
Yeah, it does.
Harley's sweet 1.
Oof. Matt's sweet 1, too.
All I gotta do is roll a 2.
Oh, that's so bad. Your heart just sinks. How quickly did you guys run out of your equipment?
Yeah, I mean, that I found myself, especially when the shit starts hitting the fan, you just have to burn them or you're just going to be screwed. You know, I really wanted to save them for my run out as much as I could. Just so I could toss some grenades, keep running, use speed boost, keep going. And I couldn't. I had to use it before that or I was just going to get boned.
Where did you have to use it?
I forgot exactly in the game. There's a couple times where I used it to just cross real quick before y'all could get to it, before y'all could see it. And then back when y'all had cornered me down in the corner, I had to use my last couple of grenades just to try and get out of there without getting pummeled.
Mine, it was pretty evenly distributed, but there was one or two I probably could have done a little bit differently and saved them for that run out. Because again, I really did feel strapped for time. Like, I've only got 40 moves, but it didn't really take me too long to get the 3 done. But by then, I think I had 1 equipment left after completing my 3 objectives. And it was the decoy. I think it was one of the grenades. Because I picked my class ability, I picked the hollow decoy, and I picked one of everything else because I'd never played the game before. Like, well, let's try them all out. Let's see what they do. And yeah, it was pretty evenly spaced as far as using them, but I definitely would have saved 1 or 2 more for later in the game. I would have taken some early hits and then use them after the objective was complete to really try and make a break. But again, I thought I had that one.
Yeah.
I was on the way out. I really was. Yeah, I was a turn away from escaping on my last.
You were at G9.
I was at E9.
E9. And then Zachary threw me right in front of you.
I was at E9, 2 turns away, door chucked, man. Just literally hopped out right on me. I made one more last break for it. I ended up at C5, literally 1 turn away, and I got caught up.
That's when I caught you.
Yeah, you guys knew where I was. You knew where I could have went.
I think that was, if I remember right, that was the one. If you had moved like 3 spaces, we would have ran right over you and wouldn't have seen you.
That's
and then
right.
You could have got out the next turn.
That's right.
But because you went the max move, we guessed that you went the max move, so we landed right on you on the max move.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
And really, the only equipment that really was kind of a clutch thing was I used stealth to get across the street at first, and I got a pretty early jump on my first objective. Because I wasn't in the red and green. My number 1 objective was all the way down in that other section.
Mm-hmm.
So going for it first, I was pretty close to my second one after that. But yeah, I'd use stealth to try and get an early break over there. And even with precognition, you didn't really know exactly where I was because I could do the 2 spots away. And then I didn't use anything else until turn 12. Oh, right then, that's when Matt decided to use a sniper down a certain lane. I just walked by him. Just walked right behind him because he wasn't out of the corner. So yeah, I just walked right across the street.
Yeah, sweet strat. Only use the sniper ability is if you're sure they're not going to go in another direction around you.
Yeah, if you definitely
if you narrowed them down to just one direction,
and they're about to step out in that street, or they're about to step across that longer lane and corridors.
Otherwise, it's still a little too
risky. You still
risky.
have quick draw if you don't use sniper shot. And quick draw is a chance to hit, but it's in any direction where you see a last scene done.
You know what? The actual with the quick draw ability, while a normal attack causes an exploding dice on a 6, it does not on a quick draw ability. Because all abilities are not considered attacks.
Yeah.
So technically, with a quick draw ability, you can only hit up to 6 spaces away.
So they can get out of that range.
You just
bad.
So quick draw ability, if you're absolutely sure.
Sniper shot.
Sniper ability.
He muttered the whole sentence.
Podcasting 101. Mumblehead.
Oh my god. It's just been all downhill for me on this podcast. Oh man.
There's always next week.
Yeah. Only 2 weeks away to redeem
We
yourself.
can bring things back around with Spider Bitch.
Yeah.
We can still do the Spider Bitch song.
We can turn this franchise around.
Well, I think we're pretty much done with that.
Yeah.
Final thoughts?
Determine how you want to play. As far as team compilation goes, you want to be aggressive or you want to be defensive. And really talk out what you're going to do and decide who's going to go first on Hunter's turn.
Yeah, hunters need to
Discuss
talk
a lot.
and don't discuss during the agent turn.
Sweet strat number 1, which we didn't follow nearly enough through any of the games.
No.
Very last turn of our last game, I think we're still doing it.
In fact, most of the time we were saying, hey, why don't we just wait about this, talk about this when he gets done. That was uttered a lot.
Yeah, I'd say probably my biggest sweet strat is, as the agent, don't be afraid to take your time. Be as deceptive and kind of let the hunters do their thing as much as you can before you really start doing it.
Yeah, I would agree there. 40 turns is a lot. You don't always have to take your maximum number of moves. You can definitely hang back a space or two to not get recognized by the motion sensor and to let the hunters walk past you, even if you think they've got you cornered.
Yeah.
Hang back a turn or two. They walk off a little bit. They think they've got it narrowed down to where they've covered a lot of lanes. Turns out they just left. Maybe you can start doubling back the other way, and they're not going to realize it until it's too late.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah,
Don't be afraid to stay where you're at.
And none of us really did that, as far as I know.
Yeah, just we mentioned it constantly throughout the show, but just as a good general strat for hunters, always keep somebody in the roads watching as many directions as you can. So that's a very big deterrent for the agent.
Yes.
Trying to avoid being seen.
Yeah, if you know they just completed an objective somewhere, then you can definitely start to try and cut them off and lead them around a little bit.
I think in most of our games we had somebody watching the roads almost at all times, really.
Yeah, I think we did. Is either the gun or little puppet.
Yeah, puppet is good at that role.
Yeah, he
because
is.
you can also do it with the motion sensor.
Yeah, because effectively, if you're the corner bitch, which let's face it, that's really what you
gotta take this corner, dog.
Little puppet is actually probably the better person to be corner bitch because he can sit there, but effectively he still has a turn to do because he can move that car around and use the horn every other turn. While the gun is really good at it too with the sniper shot.
Or quick draw if it's a smaller corner.
Especially in if you're trying to flush them out in a quadrant.
Yeah.
Quick draw is great. But I would say, all in all, for the corner man, it's a little puppet. So sweet strat, if you want a real good corner man, take a little puppet. Him and that lowrider will help you out every game.
Great.
I guess next week we got Chaos in the Old World on tap.
Yeah. Oh, something else I want to talk about before we call it night was when we were at the convention, we actually we got to meet. Well, I got to meet. I don't know if you guys actually. I don't think you did. But I got to meet the designer of a game called The Great Debate, and his name is Dave Ferguson. And why I didn't really learn a lot about him. I did play his game, and I ended up buying a copy of his game right from him, and I really liked it. I know you guys. I mean, you had a hard time with it. Not with it, but just because of some of how the cards, like effectively this is how the game works. It plays up to 10. Everybody gets vote cards, A or B. One person draws a card and he asks a question at the top. Like on this particular card, it's whoever waited the longest to debate. So whoever waited the longest, they're the person who's going to debate whoever drew the card, and then you get a question like this: should schools enforce dress codes of uniforms? A dress code of uniforms, and then you take a side, and then the other person gets the other side. I really thought the game was a lot of fun, even though it kind of seemed like everybody played it like seriously, and not just us. But even when I played with the other team, the other group of guys, before I bought the game, they're all taking the questions really, really seriously. And I kind of thought that was funny, and not necessarily how you had to play the game, which I kind of think, a lot of people didn't like it because of that. But like when Jeremy got the question, are you for or against the legalization of marijuana? And his side was the against. I mean,
Yeah.
you didn't really have much to say about that.
I didn't have an argument against it.
I
I really didn't, because of just the way I feel about it. It should be legal, but I could not argue against it. But in hindsight, I should have just, like you said, instead of taking it seriously, just have fun with it and try to think of ridiculous reasons why you should argue against the other side.
But you gotta try to role play with the other side.
Yeah, you don't have to take it
I
seriously.
would say I like the game, but I think there's a couple of small kind of house rules you could make for it.
Absolutely.
You can make, like, instead of having to pick a side, you can say who can make the best argument for one side. Like, in that case, who can make the better pitch for legalizing marijuana? Somebody could just list better points than the other person. Have portions of time for rebuttals, so we can kind of go back and forth for 30 seconds each.
Or instead of just a 30-second for one player, a 30-second for the other, have a 1 minute where you can go back and forth.
Exactly.
Something like that. But yeah, it really is open to house ruling, and it really shouldn't be taken seriously.
Yeah.
Or else you're not going to have fun. Like, you're just going to sit there for 30 seconds and go, well, I don't know how to argue against this, so you win, sir. Congratulations. That's not how you should be playing it.
Yeah, it's like, especially after you got that card, I was like, damn. I was like, that was kind of bad, that you got that. But, I mean, even at the time, it took me like the next day to think about, oh, well, you know what? He could have just been like, haven't you seen Reefer Madness? You see how those people went hallucinate? You're going to kill your mom. Just say dumb stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like to me you could just say complete lies.
Oh, it is.
Why wouldn't you?
Look, because like I got the question Coke or Pepsi. You know what I did? I picked up my phone and I said Mexican Coke, and I dropped the mic.
He didn't win that debate.
Yeah.
He got my vote.
I mean,
had Brandon said Wild Cherry Pepsi, I probably would have switched sides.
Yeah. I mean, you can say anything you want. It's just I guess it's like all these games. You're playing to your crowd. Yeah. You're playing to the people that are playing.
But I would think with something like that, whoever would make me laugh would probably get my vote.
Exactly.
That's pretty much exactly what the game is.
When we played, when I played before these guys, Rosemary, they were like, "What's better, a rhino or a lion?" And Rosemary had lions. She goes, "A lion runs shit." The end. She won. That was hilarious. But look him up.
What bear is best? False. Black bears.
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica. But check it out, especially if you like making up things on the spot, laughing and having a good time. If you like big social games, I would definitely say check it out. It's called The Great Debate. It's by Dave Ferguson. And no, I didn't get paid for that. I just thought it was an excellent game. So, till next time, folks. Anybody else want something to add something? All right. If you're seeing it, you better hide well in a dark alley and hope little puppet ain't onto you. Because if he blows that horn, we'll find you.
If you want to contact the show, you can reach us at sweetstrats@gmail.com. Or you can find us on social media at facebook.com/sweetstrats or at sweetstrats on Twitter. See you next time.
Sweet Strats! Sweet Strats! Are you gaming with me? Sweet Strats! Sweet Strats! Are you gaming with me? Are you gaming with me?